Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing my review for the last episode of the first half of The Walking Dead Season 9, the mid-season finale, Evolution. And major spoiler warning, if you guys have not seen this episode yet, before you watch this review, you gotta watch this episode. I don't want to be the one to ruin it for you guys. This episode was mind-blowing. This episode was absolutely incredible, man. So this is our first, full-on Whisper episode of the Walking Dead television series, and I have to say, man, they absolutely killed it, right? They just came in and they stabbed Jesus pretty much right in the heart, man. Oh my God, that was absolutely insane. When you see the Whisperer duck underneath unexpectedly Jesus' swipe and stab him through. You are where you don't belong. Absolutely, just oh my God, so awesome, right? I mean, this episode was fantastic, dude. I really have to say, it was really next level kind of stuff here. I absolutely just it was killer, man. I loved it. I mean, okay, so let's go through each scene. I've done my reaction video. If you guys haven't seen my reaction, I'll have it at the end videos for you here. Just basically freaking out. You know, when I saw at the end of this episode, you guys know, I mean, they had so much stuff in the episode that was geared towards people like me, you guys, right? Like, there was so much stuff. It's like, oh yeah, Trev like this, right? Negan gets free and this whole thing, and oh my God. And then the promo shows Daryl versus Beta and everything. It's like, oh my God, man, this is too much. This is Walking Dead awesomeness overload here in this episode. Absolutely. I mean, this half has been unbelievable, but this episode right here was like, oh my God, man. You know, not to mention, it's probably, can I say it's like the scariest? It's one of the scariest episodes of the entire series. You know, the Whisperers right here in this introduction might come across as the scariest villains, the scariest group we have ever seen in The Walking Dead. You know, I mean, when Negan was first introduced, he was pretty scary. You know, coming in and everything, but he's still human, right? The Whisperers are like, you know, it's like they're human, but they're not. They're like, they're inhuman, right? They're sort of human. And it just has this unbelievable horror movie, because, you know, I mean, the thing with horror movies, like, sometimes it can be good, a lot are bad, right, nowadays. I mean, there's so many horror movies, sometimes it gets really watered down, but if you think about, like, the old school, really good horror movies, and maybe the 80s, the classics in the 90s, like, you know, a lot of them will wear masks. You look at, like, you know, for example, you have Freddy, you have all the crazy, you know, his skin's all Deadpooled up, it's all, you know, like, just nasty and everything. You have Jason with a mask, and Michael Myers and everything. You get these really, you know, some of these really scary classic horror villains. And in the TV series version of The Walking Dead, once I saw it go dark and you see the fog come out and everything, I was like, this is going to be awesome. I just hope they don't cut it off at like the best moment. And they didn't. They gave us, you know, plenty enough, but then still left it in a cliffhanger for what we're going to see, you know, in this next half. And I'm personally sitting here thinking to myself, like, they could not have set up the back half of the season in a more exciting fashion than they did. It's probably impossible. You know, you have them, they're just figuring out, they're just starting to discover. Daryl's like, what the hell is this? So he cuts it, and he realizes, without kind of saying anything, that, you know, these are people living with the dead. You know, these are people that are totally blended in, totally living with the dead. And oh my God, you know, so dark, and just some of the best horror stuff of the entire series of The Walking Dead, you know, by far, for sure, no question. This is really what the strength of The Walking Dead is. Even in the comic book version, it's the same thing, is that The Walking Dead is not really a one-trick pony. It's not just that, okay, it's got some zombies and zombie apocalypse and whatever. I mean, all the characters, right, as you go through it, and the different villains and the different ups and downs, I mean, it, you know, just absolutely brilliant stuff, you know, bringing in this group, the Whispers. So far, I loved it. I'd have to say they're already, you know, I'm looking at this thinking, like, these are going to be some of the best villains of the series, for sure. You know, people are going to want to see this. This is not something people are going to want to miss. This is amazing. So we start the episode off. We get a count of how many walkers are in the are in the herd, and they say about 130, and then later on it seems to kind of double, or it seems to increase quite a bit. No, it ain't normal, right? It ain't normal. So then you get the look of the one that kind of looks up and looks over. Oh, that's awesome. Hey, that's awesome. You get just the wow and the intro and everything, because you're thinking to yourself, like, and we can't even tell. Like, we're watching it through, and it's like, how are they going to tell? We know what's going to happen as far as, this new group coming in, and we can't even tell which ones are, our walkers and our whispers. They are so well blended in. Even we as viewers can't tell, even when the camera zooms in like this far away. So you're watching them go through this whole thing, and Eugene basically losing his mind, thinking that the walkers are evolving, which the theory makes a lot of sense, right? Who would imagine that there would actually be people in these walker skins living with the dead as the Whisperers? So absolutely awesome intro, love it. Then we get some stuff with Negan and Gabriel. And you guys know I still have a soft place in my heart for Negan, right? I'm really glad Negan is still there. And in this episode, we see Negan escape, and I love it, man. It's awesome. Like, every single time we see Negan, you guys know, I just laugh my ass off, right? It's awesome every time. So he's messing with Gabriel. He's kind of poking at him and seeing, he's trying to get under his skin a little bit, right? He's mentioning some of the stuff that he hears, and he's playing baseball, throwing the ball against the wall. He's mentioning about Rosita and some of the things he may have overheard, and it's got Gabriel starting to get upset. And then, of course, afterwards he finds out that Rosita is in trouble, is at the hilltop and everything. Gabriel can't leave because he literally has to stay there to make sure that Negan is taken care of, because nobody wants to do it, or under control, or what have you. So love this stuff for Gabriel, man. And of course, when all this is going on and everything, they just forget to, they accidentally don't lock the cell, or somehow the cell door is ajar, is not quite solid. And after 7 years or 7.5 years of being inside the cell, it only took one night. The door wasn't locked. Is that totally reasonable to think that could happen? Absolutely. Just one day, one little mistake, and the guy who was supposed to lock it, or whatever happened there, somehow it came loose, and so Negan is able to escape, and he does so, which I absolutely love. We can see in the promo as well too. He's got a bat, right? So it's awesome. Getting back to the good stuff. Really happy to see that, and wow, I couldn't be more optimistic right now for the future of The Walking Dead in this back half of season. I mean, I am so absolutely pumped for this second half of this season after seeing this episode. It's unfreaking believable, because again, the ensemble approach here is what we're kind of seeing, which is a lot different from certain seasons of The Walking Dead. It's mostly focused on Rick and Rick's immediate family. This ensemble approach, where you have a lot of different things happening at once, and a lot of different characters, so far for this season, I think has just been incredible. Like, these last few episodes, like, you look at this one, so much stuff happening. You have Negan escaping, you have Henry at the hilltop, you have the Whispers coming in, you have Michonne coming to the rescue, you have all this stuff going on all at once, and it's just absolutely mind-blowing, amazing. So I loved all the stuff with Negan and Gabriel, some really funny stuff there, and about his shit, and Gabriel's tired of his shit, and he's tired of putting up with his shit talk too. So it's great, absolutely loved it. Why don't we go over the stuff at the hilltop with Henry. So we go over with Henry. We get the sense he likes Enid, but we find out in this one that Enid is with Alden, and so Henry is basically working with Earl as a blacksmith, and they tied in nicely earlier on in the season when Henry gets in trouble and he gets locked up for a couple of days for drunken disorderliness, and for sure Earl kind of feels bad for him, because he remembers when he was in that spot right there, and you had Maggie, who was who took who was a bit easy on him, easier than she could have been, and let him go back to work and everything, and yeah, so definitely relates back to that. So we get to meet the other kids here that are his age. So we've got Gage, we've got Addie, and we got Rodney, and you get the sense that Gage and Rodney are shit-to-sters, right? They're troublemakers, and they basically have been, playing games with a walker that fell into the pit. They've been throwing like hoops on it, like it's a circus game or something like this. And you get the sense that Rodney is kind of a little a little perv or something, because he wants to go to the ocean side because it's all women and become a fisherman or something. So that's kind of funny. So I like that, and you can see a lot of kind of the start to certain comic book moments that are going to be coming up. Then the comic book series we're done with Carl. TV series version going to be done with Henry, and Henry does seem different to me than Carl. He doesn't really seem the same to me as Carl in the comic book series did. He doesn't seem like he's the same character. He does seem quite a bit different to me, and he puts down the walker, but he's mainly a bit timid around the other kids. He seems to be a bit shy, very reserved, and he doesn't seem like the same kid that went out there and was killing people or doing stuff that he had to do, during all that war and all this other thing. He seems to be quite a bit different. So for now, he's in a cell, maybe getting things set up possibly in the second half, which we'll go and do for predictions for a meeting with Lydia. So we'll see about that, which will be cool, the TV series version of that. And, not much else to say about the new kids that he meets here. Just that, we'll see what happens at the hilltop with him, what kind of trouble he's gonna get into. And he seems like a really well-behaved, good kid. He doesn't really seem like a troublemaker. In this one, it kind of seems more like they kind of, their influence brought him into it, drinking and everything else. And that's not something he's really used to. So he wants to make amends for what he did here. But we'll have to see what happens with that. Now that he knows, of course, that Enid is taken, and that kind of maybe is making him maybe try to refine his social circle here, because he doesn't really know anybody, and he doesn't really have one so far at the hilltop. But I did like all the stuff there, and I liked how kind of the focus in this episode was that the hilltop sort of made it look like it was kind of the home base. Now the survivors, we get the sense in this episode, they let us know that the communities are not really joint communities anymore. They're sort of loosely joint communities, but not really. The people of each community are separate. They seem to be, Michonne, something may have happened here where there's a conversation between her and Carol. Maybe Michonne was unwilling to help them out, the kingdom, at some point. Basically, they've kind of all settled into, after all this amount of time, their new communities, and you get the sense that they are not part of that same old gang back together again, that old group being back together again. They're all kind of, they found a different place now, and Tara and Jesus, and, well, maybe not Jesus, because he likes to he wants all the others to come together for the fair and everything, but we get the sense the hilltop is booming. They have a lot of food they're growing, it looks like, and we have Michonne kind of coming in with the others here, and they call for riders, and everybody kind of runs inside of the gates of the hilltop because they've got a protocol or a procedure to deal with that. You have Tara coming out, and she's kind of worried because she's not there, and so she's not sure what's happening here. And then they let Michonne and the others in, but they kind of do so in such a way where they force them to hand over their weapons, and they kind of treat them with a little bit of, maybe not hostility, but not as warm of a welcome as you might expect. So obviously there's some things that happen here during this 6-year time skip that we are unaware of so far with Michonne and with the others. Maybe Michonne becoming hardened after the death of Rick, and then not willing to help out the others, and then maybe that whole thing kind of caused them to ruin their rapport or their relationship a little bit between the groups and between the communities. Rick wanting to build bridges between them, and the bridge ultimately being destroyed, maybe them losing hope in that the idea of them all working together as joint communities would work. So we'll see if this new threat with the Whispers can make them kind of come back together again and can kind of all recombine forces against them, because they're probably going to need to, considering how deadly, vicious, and just scary all around the Whispers actually are. Awesome stuff, man. So we'll go over the trailer video for the second half in fine detail after this one. I'll have that for you guys in about half an hour, because that looks amazing. So Negan smile as he's free. We go through, and the firecrackers and stuff with Eugene and Daryl trying to draw them away, which doesn't work, and he can kind of hear them. He's like, what the hell is going on here? And then, of course, later on, he takes off one of the skins, and he realizes that these aren't walkers, these are people. Michonne notices that the blood on her sword is fresh, and it's not dry. It's the wrong color. It's a bright red for a living person that she just killed, and not necessarily a dried up old walker. That's blood would probably be more like a dark red, burgundy to brown type of shade, right? So all in all, Magna and the others coming in to help, Michonne coming in to help, and the scene with Jesus, man. More than anything, I thought that was incredible introduction for the Whispers. I mean, Jesus has been in the series since season 6's second half, is that right? Somewhere around there, yeah. Knots Untied, those episodes there, where the New World, where he meets Rick and Daryl, which is kind of cool. And unfortunately, this one doesn't make it, but they're able to save Eugene, which is good because, again, Eugene is their thinker, and he comes up with some really amazing stuff. So his value is tremendous as well. As is Jesus, because he's the head of the Hilltop, right? So they just killed, the Whisperers just killed the leader of the biggest community so far that we know of, in terms of the way it looks anyway, the Hilltop being what looks to be probably the biggest community of them all, right up there with Alexandria, and then probably the Kingdom Third, at least from my perspective, from what we've seen so far. And they took him down, man. Absolutely terrifying stuff. And then we kind of end, we hear a whole bunch of whispers at the end and them talking, and the group is basically surrounded. So Michonne and the others know what they're dealing with now. And, of course, we're thinking that they're going to get out of there and they're going to fight their way out. And they may suffer some injuries, but they'll most likely get out of there. But still, I mean, this is, you are where you do not belong, man. Oh, my God. So how could I give this episode anything but a perfect 10 out of 10? It just totally showed me some things that I didn't think, like, I wasn't sure. You guys know this season, I was not sure if we were going to get episodes like this without Rick. I wasn't sure if without him in the series, if we would be able to get this level of intensity, to be able to get this kind of horror, to be able to get this kind of fear, to be able to be so worried for the survivors that are in the group and everything that we're seeing. But they absolutely crushed it. They nailed it. They killed it. This was amazing. This was an amazing, amazing mid-season finale. I personally could not be happier with it. And season 9 has, I think, really taken a possible cluster F and turned it into already what I think is a standout season of the series, and definitely one of the best seasons of the series ever. And this episode for me is, with this introduction, is one of the best episodes of the series. And, huge character death for a character that's been in the series for many seasons, which does sadden me, but, probably necessary to introduce the Whispers in that kind of, that strong. And it was, man. Oh, my God. What an awesome episode. Evolution. I am just as excited as ever for Walking Dead again, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen later on this season. Daryl, the meetup, everything. God, I got to watch that promo another 5 times, and I'm going to do the next video with you guys. Let me know what you thought, man. Were you guys as amped after watching this one as I am? Is it just me? I'm a big fan of the Whispers. Been reading the comics for, since the very first issue when we saw them the first time in the comics, the very week of, and reviewing it. So I've been looking forward to this for a long time to see this group introduced. Finally, they are, and they were done so in absolutely amazing fashion. Effing amazing. Let me know what you guys think. If you like this video, please thumb it up below. Share it. You got a Facebook you wouldn't mind sharing through for me. I'd appreciate it. Tell other people about the channel. It looks like The Walking Dead is going to be strong for many more years to come, and I'm very happy to see that. At least if they can keep things going like this, I'll be here, and I think most of you guys will probably be here too. For anybody who's new here, you can subscribe at the bottom. For everyone who's been here for years, thank you guys so much. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for all the support, thumbing up the videos, leaving the comments, sharing out the videos. It all helps out and keeps this train rolling. That's it for Nothing Stops This Train, right? There's a Breaking Bad quote for you guys. That's it for this video, guys. See you again soon for another. It's Trev, saying peace with my sign language again. See you guys back soon for the predictions for the second half. Awesome, man. Freaking awesome.